The doorbells have been kind of slowing down, so maybe we'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our grant kickoff, Cobb Community Foundation's grant kickoff for our Match Magic Give-a-thon campaign. We are very excited to bring this back again this year. If you have not already, please put your name and organization name in the chat and we will get started. Okay, let's introduce ourselves first. If you're not familiar with Cobb Community Foundation, we are a very small but mighty team of about 6 folks right now. You're going to hear from Sherry Martin, our president and CEO today, and I am Lisa Ruth Carnes, the programs manager here at the foundation. I've been here about 4 months, so this is my first time going through Match Magic. I'm very excited to be doing this with all of you, so please ask all the questions. We're learning together, doing this together. We will be hearing from one of our previous grantees, the Strand Theater, Andy Gaines, as the executive director, to get his perspective on his participation last year and what his experience was going through Match Magic. So he'll be able to answer some of your questions and give his side of the equation as well. So our team also consists of Nakia Gray-Smith, who is not on the call today, but is our client services and office manager. Gitanjali Bakshi, who's on the call today. If you want to wave, there's G. And we have also Richard Parham on the call as well, helping with our operations and support, and May Eisen, who is our intern, who is not on the call today. And at this point, Sherry, are you on the call?
Yes, I'm here. I just need to remember to turn my audio on.
Okay, no worries. So at this point, I am going to turn it over to Sherry to give you a little bit of background on Cobb Community Foundation, what our goals are and our mission for this year.
Great. Thank you, Lisa Ruth. And it is a pleasure to talk to all of you today. We are so excited about Match Magic for this year. It blew us away last year. So we are hoping for even more this year. So for those of you who are not familiar with Cobb Community Foundation, we actually got started back in 1993 as a local fund of the Community Foundation for Greater Atlanta. We became independent in effective 2005 and have been going strong ever since then. We recently went through a strategic plan, and it was very interesting to all of us, including our board and staff, to see the evolution that we had made that is pretty, I don't want to say standard. There's nothing standard about community foundations, but it's a growth path that many take. And we started off where we had board members, this is going back to 1993, who would contribute to a pool of funds, and they would decide where those dollars should go. And that was basically it. They distributed those dollars out. And so that's the way many nonprofits, or community foundations start off. Then we started taking on different kinds of funds. For those of you who aren't familiar, we manage numerous donor advice funds, which are, think of them as like a miniature foundation, where instead of establishing their own private foundation, an individual, a family, a business will establish a donor advice fund with a community foundation. There are also commercial providers, but we certainly recommend community foundations as an alternative because we're the ones who are in the community, and everything that we do goes back into the community. So we manage those kinds of funds as well as others. And our goal is, at that point in time, was really just to send those dollars wherever the donors told us to send them. If I set up a donor advice fund and I said, I want you to send this to a charity in California, we just write the check and send it to a charity in California. So we became more of a charitable bank. The next step in the evolution is that we gain the understanding of what are the needs in the community, and we're communicating that with our fund holders. We're also creating new and different kinds of funds to try to address those needs in the community. Scholarship funds, what we call field of interest funds, agency funds that help nonprofits. But at that point, we're getting deeper into the community needs, and again, a big part of our role at that point is connecting to what we call donors who care with causes that matter. And by the way, that part of what we do is never going to go away. When someone establishes a donor advised fund with us, they can give to any 501c3 organization anywhere from that donor advised fund. But what we do is make sure that they know what the needs are right here in our community and who's working to address those needs. And that takes us to the place where we are, and that actually caused us to change our mission statement. So previously, our mission statement was all about connecting donors who care with causes that matter. But we do more than that. We want to be a catalyst. We want to make things happen to help our community to thrive. And how do we do that? Well, we mobilize people, ideas, and resources. And the result of that is improving quality of life in Cobb County and in and around Cobb County. And that's really where we are now. So in terms of the things that how do we go about that? So 3 core ways. There's a 4th one that is all about us internally and just making sure that our ducks are all in a row, to put it simply. But the strategic themes that are external are collective giving, really encouraging the combining of assets, the combining of resources to make a big difference. And we'll talk about how we do that currently. Community problem solving, identify what are the issues that need addressed the most and what do we need to do to solve those issues. And then why we're here today, expanding nonprofit and agency capacity. Whenever we can help you to do something better than you were able to do it before, to leverage our resources for greater gain for you, like what Match Magic does, we consider that expanding your capacity. So what does all that translate to into some of our tangible goals? Well, right now, when we distribute our grant making dollars every year, and we have very few dollars for that, by the way, we have to raise those every single year. Many community foundations get formed when someone of great wealth passes away and says, here it is. We haven't had that. So we raise those dollars that we give out in a discretionary fashion every single year. And again, that's one of the reasons why we created Match Magic. We wanted to create a way where we could leverage our resources to help you build even more. But our goal is to have a $5 million pipeline in the end of 5 years. So how are we currently distributing our dollars now? Well, our overall giving budget is about $370,000 a year, and it changes back and forth every year. When we look at nonprofit capacity building, there are basically 3 things that fall into that category. One of them is the Certified Nonprofit Professional Designation program that Lisa Ruth will talk. Are you going to talk a little bit about that today?
I'll mention it, yes.
Great. We also have an educational process that we go through. And Lisa Ruth is going to mention something about that today, or I am. It depends where the slide is. And then we recognize certain nonprofits at the end of every year. One is the Howard Kepke Award, and that recipient receives $10,000. And the Howard Kepke Award, for those of you who knew him, this is a gentleman who inspired collaboration like no one had ever seen before. And so we try to recognize the nonprofit every year that we think shows the greatest level of collaboration. And you guys are the one to nominate that person. So that's nonprofit capacity building. Collective giving, encouraging people to bring their resources together in order to make a bigger difference. So our designated grants are part of that, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But it's also this Cobb Give-a-thon with our Match Magic, because that's where people are combining their resources, not just to give to you, but we're going out to all of them at the same time and saying now is a great time to give. And by the way, we're going to somehow make your dollars bigger than they actually are. So again, collective giving. And the last one, community problem solving. So here's where we have a number of different focus areas that we are specifically focused on. One of them is vital signs. You may have heard about this. It's basically a project where we're looking to gather information that can be helpful to the nonprofit community, to government, to the healthcare sector, to funders, to identify what are the major problems and how are we changing things year over year. And part of what we will be doing with that is that will help to guide our grant making. Where we see that things are improving, we'll put more money into that. If things are staying the same, we may need to look at alternative programs to be funding than what we already are. Some examples of things we're focused on right now, mental well-being grants. We work very closely with a group called Cumberland Counseling and help to supplement some of the expenses associated with counseling where that is needed. Community Resource Center initiatives. We've worked very closely with a church that is in Fair Oaks to make sure that we have some child care opportunities provided there. Economic mobility, you all may have heard of Circles Cobb. This is an organization we help to stand up because it promotes economic mobility. On average, the people who've been through that program and stuck with it for 18 months see a 75% increase in their income. That's what we're looking for. And then a child care support fund. So this is how our dollars are being allocated right now. And they're always going to fall in those three categories, but where they go specifically will be dictated by vital signs. And so this is where we have brought together a number of stakeholders. Some of you may have already participated in some focus groups on this. We're actually getting ready to wrap up our phase one, which is engaging those folks who are providing services to tell us what is the information you need to know to do your job better. What is the information you already have available, but what more do you need to know beyond that? And one of the things that I'm looking forward to doing is asking of our community, and this is phase two, is taking all of those things that you've said you need to know more about and putting that information in front of the community at large. And we'll be asking for your help with that to pose questions, but some questions that may begin with why and how, which I think are critically important when we're figuring out how best to serve our community and address problems and ultimately make them go away. So we hope to have the results of that at the end of April next year, and that will be available to everyone. We will post it on our website. We're happy for you to post it on your website, wherever you think that needs to go.
Thank you so much, Sherry. We hope that these pressing issues and these priorities will be really helpful to local nonprofits. We really try and align our grant making strategy with the needs of the community. So this is one way for us to help you guys with what you do. So thank you so much, Sherry, for giving us some more insight on that. I'm going to go back to that CNP program that Sherry mentioned very quickly. This is another grant opportunity that we offer, which will be opening next month. The CNP is a nationally recognized credential, and this grant opportunity is available to local nonprofit leaders. So these are individuals who work in local nonprofits who will apply as an individual. The organization, at the completion of the credential, the organization will receive an incentive grant. So if that's something that sounds like you or someone in your organization might be interested in doing, we're going to have a very similar information session on August 13th. So you can mark your calendar for that. We have Richard's email here and information if you would like to sign up to get that on your calendar. We do this in partnership with Kennesaw State University. So this is both an online and an in-person cohort. So it does take a little bit of participation and work, up to 10 hours per week. So this is nothing to take lightly. It is a little bit of work, but we hear really wonderful things coming from our participants about this program. So I'm happy to answer questions about that and hope to see you at that grant seeker session as well. And one more piece of information before we move to Match Magic. I know this is a lot of information for you guys, but this is another opportunity we're offering to our nonprofits. This is also free of charge. This is basically an educational event. We call it our Ignite series. This is happening on August 26th in person from 3 to 6 p.m. here in our office. And this is basically a facilitated discussion about the current funding landscape. So as you all know, the current funding landscape for nonprofits is very uncertain. We're sort of feeling like everyone's on a roller coaster. So this is a way for us to kind of talk about with Georgia Center for Nonprofits, ways that we can strategize and handle and make good decisions within this environment. So registration for that is not open, but please save that date. Follow us on socials to find out when registration and how registration will be open. All right. So on to what you are here today for. So Match Magic. Some of you on this call may have never heard this before, and that's totally fine. We are bringing it back. This is, I think, the third year in a row. So basically what Match Magic is, it is a fundraising campaign that we help local nonprofits do to basically supercharge your end of year fundraising. We also raise your visibility. We've had grantees that have gained new donors, and we give nonprofits access to our multi-channel media campaign in partnership with our strategic communications firm. We also, in addition to that, we raise our own match pool, which we then grant back to the grantees that are included within the grant catalog. So there's a couple of moving pieces and parts, part of this Match Magic, but what you need to know high level is that we are trying to leverage the spirit of giving around the holiday season. I know that local nonprofits always have their own end of year fundraising campaigns. This is a huge time of year for all nonprofits. What we're trying to do is basically raise the visibility on what you're already doing. So capitalize on that, capitalize on Giving Tuesday and on Georgia Gives. We have raised our goals this year. If you were around last year, our goal was to raise a $50,000 match pool. And we did do that. And this year we have raised that goal to $200,000. So we are hoping to gain a $200,000 matching pool, which will be proportionally matched to the grantees, and we'll talk about how that will be allocated later. But the overall fundraising goal has been raised to $1 million this year. Last year, we raised over 800,000. So we are hoping that 1 million is just enough to get us, a little more from the community this year, and while also helping all of the nonprofits in the community. From some high-level changes from last year's gift guide, we received some feedback that the campaign may not have been long enough. So we're actually lengthening the campaign from 2 weeks to now 3 weeks. So the campaign will be open. The actual giving period will be from November 11th to December 2nd, which gives donors an extra week to support you in this endeavor. And then the floor to be eligible for the match pool has been raised as well. It has gone up to $10,000. It was $1,000 last year, and I know that $10,000 seems like a lot when you just look at it kind of objectively. But last year, out of the 25 organizations that we had participate, only 5 raised less than $10,000, and one of those was about $250 away. So really, once the word starts getting out about this and it really becomes a big effort and the ball gets rolling, people really love to get on board, and 10,000 should be very doable for the organizations involved. And if you have any questions about this, please put them in the chat. Richard and G are monitoring the chat, and we can answer all of your questions at the end. Okay, so a little bit more about what Match Magic is. And you'll have these slides for later, so I'm not going to read these all to you. You will be able to go through them on your own. But the general structure is that of the grantees that are invited to participate, you will have an online giving portal that is unique to you, and you will be able to promote that, put that on your socials. You will work directly with our communications and marketing firm to come up with your own customized nonprofit social media toolkit, which you'll be able to use. There will also be a physical gift guide, a printed physical gift guide that will be distributed through the Marietta Daily Journal and will be mailed directly to fund holders and donors. Cobb Community Foundation, for our part, will help promote you on our paid marketing, our social media channels, our website, and our newsletters. We have over 8,000 subscribers. So in this way, you will gain new donors, gain visibility through that. We also partner with the Marietta Daily Journal to provide coverage on Match Magic. So this is press releases, blurbs in the news. So to really raise the visibility of the whole campaign as well. And this is not just cash gifts that we can accept. So we can also accept gifts of stock, IRAs, QCD. Matching gifts can be applied. We just need to know that before the deadline. So that's all the things that we'll do as part of this grant opportunity. So what we're asking from the recipient is that in partnership with our firm, you create a plan for your fundraising effort using the tools that you create with them throughout the grant process. To use those tools to be proactive and to ask current and prospective donors via email, mail, social media to donate during the Match Magic campaign to earn those matching dollars. Because the more that you raise, the more you will be proportionately matched through that match pool. And we also ask that you be really creative in your approach. We've had some grantees that have used QR codes, created Canva, invitations or posters. We've had videos to raise awareness of Match Magic and to reach your fundraising goal. Has Andy joined the call yet? I haven't seen his.
I think he's here.
I'm here.
Okay, Andy, wonderful. Sorry, there's so many squares. I can't keep
It's
track
all
of
good.
who's. Okay. Would you mind? We're going to introduce Andy, Executive Director of the Strand Theater, which everyone here knows about. Last year, you were our biggest fundraiser. And if you wouldn't mind answering a few questions about why did you apply? How did you mobilize your donors? And any advice you might give to someone applying this year?
Sure, absolutely. Well, some percentages first. When we talk about the why, so 50% of nonprofits are going to receive a majority of their annual donations in the last 3 months of the year. And even though a smaller, 33% of all nonprofit donations occur in that late November and early December timeline. People are primed for this. So it's corralling everyone in the way that they need to go. But what you're allowing people to do through the Cobb Community Foundation is you are taking local people, focusing on local issues, and allowing them the opportunity to make an impact locally. And that is huge. For people to be able to invest their money that will then go further than what they planted their seed with to make an impact in their backyard is the most compelling case that you can possibly give in the donation side of things. So galvanizing our patron and donor base for one specific thing and making that investment go further was the main reason to apply. But when you get to the how did you mobilize and do all of that? So yes, we hit on all platforms you could possibly imagine. We hit on email, we hit on social, but we also hit one-on-one. And we also hit one-on-one in our board. So my advice in this would be to start early. You have to plant a seed in water for it to grow. You have to find your cadence on how you want to speak to your audience in that regard. And know that you may feel like repetition on your side might feel like too much, but for most people at an open rate of 35%, that cadence is not going to feel the same for them So you need to make sure that you're leaning in. Also, don't be afraid to send in the morning or send at night as you set your cadence of, oh, we're going to make sure we email, you know, once a week, and we're going to do it on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday. We're going to do a morning, an afternoon, and an evening so that you're catching people where they are to bring them over to your team. Um, so remember, I jokingly refer to this as stair step do, but it works for all organizations. Someone has to first experience your organization before they can invest in your organization. But the main thing and biggest step that they can take in the stair step ladder is to become the top of the ladder is an advocate. When you can be the reason why, but another person can tell their why as a part of your why, the story becomes more impactful. And whatever they are saying becomes more compelling to the audience, which is everyone that you want to come and join and be part of all of the fun that you are having in your organization to tackle your mission. Um, and when you're talking about mission, that is your why, and that is so important. However, you need to make sure that you are saying the who's. So who is impacted? The what. You have to explain what the problems are for what you are trying to solve in this community. And it's all going to be different. I know that there are 25 organizations, and almost every single one of them was serving a different niche inside of our community. And then finally, what is your call to action for them? And in this case, it may be giving, making an investment so that we can combine funds to make a further impact. So so that side. When it comes to advice on applying, um, do you want to be a part of this? Because you want to be a part. It's why we all join nonprofits and we do the work we do. We want to be a part of something larger than ourselves. We are here to work on a problem or follow our mission that is larger than any one organization can be. When we show solidarity in making an impact in Cobb, which is what this is doing, you can push people further and get more buy-in. When I can say that we are raising money for the end of the year for the Strand, and we have the full backing of the Cobb Community Foundation, it it kind of propels you into a further down into the conversation than you could be on your own. It's like having that extra person at the table when you go to speak to someone. But there are some best practices that you can do. I love that you mentioned the QR codes earlier and sending all to one place. So, because your messaging can change how you segment your audience, and you can segment your audience in a myriad of ways: engagement level, your one-timers, your power users, your arts, well, in our case, I call them arts omnivores, the people that you know that go to more than one organization and you're asking them to choose to make their investment or be in their top three priorities for the year, whatever it may be. Communication channel. Some people like things in their hands and other people like to read on their phone. And some people like to read an email versus social media, but it's also age and how you're speaking to people. The more that you are able to segment your audience and drill in and feel, we want people to feel like we're talking to them directly, which we are, but we want to make sure that they feel that and do that to the best of your organization's abilities. And that might not be we're segmenting 50 times. Maybe it's we're segmenting power users and non-power users. And maybe I know that the lifespan of a arts organization ticket buyer is once every 18 months. So maybe I'm just looking at two times within 18 months, and that's a power user for us this year. Whatever your organization can do, I promise is what you can do, and that is good. People will rally behind. Another piece that I highly recommend in the early category is if you are a nonprofit, you have a board. And if you have a board, then the number one question that you receive on every single grant is your board giving at 100%? Your messaging can always be, it isn't even about the money amount raised by your board. It is about, is everyone participating at the level that you described, whatever that may be. Because when you can say that not only are we making a difference, but the people that are supporting us, financially and emotionally and governance and all those responsibilities of a board, that they are all in. We have 10 people in our community that truly believe in what we are doing. That is a huge piece. It also gives you the opportunity. Those are your true advocates, and it gives you an opportunity to use them to let them tell their story. Because again, I know I'm repeating myself, you can tell a story, but when you push someone along up to the point of being an advocate for you, the story that they tell will further your mission than anything that you can ever say yourself. So I think that's all I have. If there's
Thank
anything
you.
else you'd like to hear.
Thank you. Hey, Lisa Ruth, do you mind if I mention something?
Go ahead.
So this is actually, and you don't need to pull it up, shown in the last slide of the presentation. But there may be some of you who don't know much about Match Magic from last year and are hearing all this and thinking, oh, that's a lot of work. Well, yeah, it is. You've also may be thinking, wait, if you're just going to your current donors, how is that really helping you? Well, we asked the participants last year, and I'm looking at a slide to the side, so forgive me not looking directly at you. 64% of the organizations that participated said they had new donors through Match Magic. People that had never donated to them before donated to them through Match Magic. And if those organizations did their job right, they should become repeat donors for those organizations. Secondly, 76% of the organizations, that's 3/4, said that they received higher donation amounts from existing donors. So yes, we are asking you to cultivate your donor base, but those numbers tell a huge, huge story. So don't be discouraged.
No, I
Yeah.
think that's a great opportunity for all the organizations. You want to turn your local community into your greatest supporters, whether they're a current user or not. You want people to believe in what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Andy, so much for all your perspective, and Sherry, thanks for bringing that up. I'm seeing a lot of questions coming through on the chat about kind of the logistics and the, eligibility. So we're going to head into that next, and please hang on to your question if I haven't answered it. So the eligibility requirements. So here's the nitty gritty. Here's who's eligible and who's not. So you must be a 501c3. You have to be in existence for at least a year from today. You can have a fiscal sponsor. We will only accept one application per EIN number. Faith-based organizations are eligible if you are using the funds for a non-proselytizing activity. Individual public schools are not eligible. However, district-wide programs are. Private schools operating under their own EIN are eligible, and government entities may apply if the funds will be used for charitable purposes. So that's the nitty-gritty on that. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. And here's the timeline. So some important dates. The application's open now. It opened today. It will be open for 3 weeks. It will close on Wednesday, July 30th. I'm going to show you the application here in just a second. But what you should know is that Part of the application is organizational information, which is standard for most grant applications. We want to know, like Andy said, who's on your board, all of that good stuff. What are your programs? But then the second part of the application is what is going to be included on the portals, the giving portal, and in the printed catalog. So this is your pitch. This is your appeal. This is your promotional material. These are your photos. So you want these to be as attention grabbing and clear and concise as you can. And to help you do that, we have built in some time during the grant application process with our communications and grants team. They're called BauerCom. So you'll see the Zoom links here. And again, you're going to receive these slides. So you'll have these Zoom links available. You can access these Zooms where the team there will be happy to help you create your pitch, create your appeal, create your narrative, help you choose the best pictures. If you don't have any, what kinds of pictures would show my program the best? You can ask them questions. We do ask that if you show up to these storytelling sessions and storytelling workshops, that you come prepared with some notes, maybe some ideas, just to start the ball rolling. Choose the program that you might feature, or maybe choose some words that you might like to use, or your mission statement, something along those lines. So we've built in 3 different dates here: July 15, July 23, and July 28th. We tried to put them on different times of the day. So hopefully everyone who's interested in attending one has one that will work for their schedule. And no need to register, just show up. The application deadline is July 30th at 5 o'clock. Notifications will be sent within a month. So we hope to have all notifications out by Friday, August 29th, which we hope we started the process earlier this year. So we hope this will give you all enough time to integrate your existing end of year fundraising plans with Match Magic. But really, once you're notified, that's kind of where the work kind of starts, to be honest with you, because after the grant application is approved, there is some work that needs to be done to get the giving portal ready and the physical gift guide ready. So there will be a mandatory virtual meeting for all selected recipients on Wednesday, September 10th from 2 to 4. And this will be with our communications and marketing team to help kind of prep everyone for all the things that are going to be involved and the dates that those are going to be due. And then September and October are kind of where, everything's moving. So we're getting the campaign prepped, we're building the portal, we're getting the media kits ready. We are prepping the gift guide to be mailed. And then early November 11th, the Match Magic online portal will open, and we're going to time the mailing of the physical gift guides to arrive in mailboxes before that, so that the donors, if they choose, will be able to donate right when the portal opens, and they've already had a chance to read the gift guide, look through the gift guide, read about all your wonderful stories, and see all your wonderful pictures. And then there'll be a 3-week period where we're going to be updating everyone on, where we are to goal, and you'll be able to see also in real time all of the cash donations and credit card donations within your portal. So that number will continue to go up. You'll be able to see that in real time. Gifts of stock and IRAs and QCDs won't be in that because we'll have to put those in at the end, but it'll be pretty close. The Match Magic Giving Portal closes at midnight on Giving Tuesday, the online portal, but the deadline for stocks, wire transfers, IRAs, and QCDs is 5 o'clock because we need to know that those are in for office hours before we go home for the night. So just make sure if any of those are coming in, you let us know in advance. We'll need a day or two to crunch the numbers, and then we will announce the final results and the match allocation on Thursday, December 4th. And all nonprofits should receive their grant funding, which, by the way, is unrestricted. The grant coming from us is unrestricted. Will be sent to you via ACH. And you will also receive all of the contact information from all of the donors that gave through the portal as well. So this is kind of the lay of the land for the next few months. Okay, one question we always get a lot of: how does the match work? Okay, so the match is not a one-to-one. The match is proportionally based on how much you raise, how much is raised overall, and how much is raised in the match pool. as well. So to be eligible for the match dollars, as we mentioned before, you have to raise at least $10,000. And out of the 25 that participated last year, only 5 didn't make it, and 1 was very close. So we feel this is very doable. The match dollars will be allocated to every organization after the donation window closes. And again, it's proportional based on how much each nonprofit has raised. To ensure that all organizations have a chance to receive the funding, we are capping a single organization's match to 10% of the match pool total. So I'm going to give you a really, really, really simplified version of how the proportional match allocation is going to be calculated. However, you need to keep in mind that if you do receive this grant, during that mandatory training call, we will go more into detail about the match. But very simply, the match is going to be proportional based on those 3 things. So how much the match pool is, how much is raised overall, and how much the nonprofit raises. So this is just an example. Organization A is going to raise 5,000, organization B 25,000, organization C raises 100,000. Now, say we meet our goals and we raise the 200,000 for the match pool, and the overall goal raised is $1 million, which is our goal. Organization A would not qualify for the match pool since they didn't raise 10,000, but they would still receive 100% of the $5,000 they raised. So that would go straight to them. We don't take any fees for that, for any of it, actually. Organization C would receive 10% of the match pool, which would be 10% of $200,000. Which would be 20,000, because they raised 10% of the overall fundraising goal. So 100,000 is 10% of $1 million. So that's their cap. They can't take any more of the match pool than that. Organization B, because they raised 2.5% of the overall goal, will receive 2.5% of the remaining match pool, which would be equal to $4,500. So that's a very, very simple version. Just please note that the actual allocations are going to be more complicated than that, because the excess percentages from those that raise over 10% of the pool and the percentages from those who don't raise at least 10,000 will be reallocated back into the match pool. So those numbers are going to change based on all the funding at the end. So unfortunately, we can't tell you how much you're going to receive from the match pool, but the main message is that the more you raise, the more you're going to receive from the match pool till the 10% cap. I hope that wasn't too confusing. Okay, so on to the actual application. As mentioned, the application is open now. It's on our GLM grant portal, which the link is right here at the top. It's also available on our website, the link to the application. First, if you haven't ever applied to a grant with us before, you'll need to create an account. If you think that your organization, not you personally, but your organization already has an account, please let me know. Email me before you make another account, because we'll have to merge those. So it's 1 account per organization, then you can add additional people if you so choose. But once you've gotten set up with an account, you will log in and click on the apply button at the top. So right here, the apply button at the top, and the name of the grant process is 2025 Match Magic. There's the apply button, and there's the grant process. Okay, as I mentioned before, the application is broken down into a couple of parts. So part 1 is your traditional grant application information, your contact, your mission, your services. We are asking a new question this year. If any of you applied last year, this one's going to be new. This is the number and percentage of Cobb residents served. So that's percentage of the people that you serve who live in Cobb. We wanted to get those numbers up front. You're going to attach your budget of your organization and your program, and fill out some answers about your charitable designation. Part 2 is your uploads. So this is your Secretary of State registration, your IRS letter, your 990, things like that. And then part 3 is what we were talking about before, the gift guide catalog materials. So this is where you're going to complete your storytelling materials that will be included on the portal and in the physical gift guide. Again, you can log on to any one of these 3 coaching sessions. They'll be available to you. Just simply click the link and someone will be happy to help you prepare your pitch. Just please come with a draft or an idea or somewhere to start for your appeal. I'm going to show you what those look like in just a minute. So this is part 3 of the application, which is the gift guide. So we're going to start by asking you what's your field of interest. You want a primary and a secondary. This is how we're going to categorize your organization within the gift guide and within the catalog. So make sure you have a primary and a secondary. For example, human services and then maybe youth. You know, you want to pick 2 that your program or your organization would fall under. You are going to choose your fundraising goal. You get to decide how much you want to raise and what your goal is. We ask you to be aspirational, but realistic. It might be difficult to raise 50% of your revenue in 3 weeks, right? So we want you to do something that might be a little more realistic in that situation. And then we're going to ask for your website. This can be any part of your website. It does not have to be the homepage. If you want to feature a special page you're putting up for Match Magic, wonderful. If you want to go straight to your donate page, great. Do you want to go to the program page that you're asking for funds for? Wonderful. So you get to choose which part of the website you want to feature. Okay, the next couple of questions are set up in a certain way so that you're going to start with the big picture appeal, and then you're going to zoom in on your request and then zoom in a little bit more and then zoom in a little bit more to really get to the heart of your ask for the gift guide. So your appeal and why it matters. I won't read this to you. There's an example here, but this is basically what is the problem and how are you solving it? And to get folks on board with, your program. It should explain to your donors, why give to you? Why is your program the most successful? You can highlight things like your success rate, your experience. You can tell a story. You have impact statistics available, things like that. This is going to be your longest piece of information in this part of the gift guide or in this part. So you want to make this kind of your more fleshed out version. And then from this 750 characters, and that's important because we only have so much space in the gift guide. So you want to be really choosy on which words you use and how you want to frame your ask. You're going to take your 750 characters and you're going to edit it down to 250 characters. So this is your ask. So you want to take your big appeal and bring it down a little bit further. So if you follow the example, you want to pull out a few things from your appeal and just put them in your ask. And then from your ask, from your 250 characters, you're going to want to make a headline, which will be the header for your part of the physical gift guide and for the giving portal. That's just 75 characters. So one sentence, sum up your appeal in one sentence and make it really impactful. And then the longest part of your application here is your promotion plan. So tell us how you're going to promote Match Magic. How are you going to mobilize your existing donor base? Do you have plans? Do you have numbers? Are you going to, tell us how you see yourself using Match Magic to further your fundraising goals? Okay, and then just as important are the photos and the logo that you choose to be included. So these photos will be displayed very prominently, both digitally and in print. So these need to be really high quality. I'm not going to read this to you, but this, like 300 DPI or more, like make these really, really high quality photos. And they need to be square, ideally. Because that's just the way they work best in social media and posts and websites and in the physical gift guide. Again, all of the details are here, but just number one, make sure they represent your program well and are high quality. And we'll also need your logo. Okay, FAQs, and then I will stop talking and we will have some questions. But FAQs, how much should I request? Again, make it aspirational but achievable. You can absolutely raise more than your request. So that there is no barrier to that. You will receive everything that you raise. How much funding will I receive? So Inclusion in the gift guide is not a guarantee. It's basically a platform to give your own fundraising more power, right? So that's the purpose of this, is to raise visibility for nonprofits in our area. How do I see how much money I've raised? So like I said before, you'll have a unique donation page, and that's going to track your numbers in real time. And then after that window closes, we'll add in all the stock, IRA, QCD, and other gifts on that window, and you'll know before you receive your final grant. Will I learn who my donors are? Absolutely. We're going to email you a spreadsheet of names and contact information unless the donor has chosen to remain anonymous. We'll email that to you after the window closes. You'll receive your funds in mid-December. And we don't charge any fees for this. The only reduction to amounts will be credit card processing fees charged by third-party processors. So you'll receive everything that you raise. Okay, and both Andy and Sherry mentioned this before, but some feedback from last year's grantees. Every single grantee that participated said it was worth the time. It was worth the donations and the exposure that they received. 64% said they received new donors. 76% said they received higher donations from existing donors. And 68% said they had exposure to a new audience. And you can see the results of that here. We are really excited to offer this again. And we've already been getting questions about when is it starting and when is it, so the community is also looking forward to it too. So that's all for me. Thank you so much. If there's any questions, Richard G, that I haven't answered yet, could you read them out to me?
Yep. It looks like Sherry went in and answered some of them. Thanks, Sherry. But it says, do the donors receive their charitable contribution letter at the time of donation or in January 2026?
Oh, good question. So if they give online, they'll receive it right away. If they give through the portal, they'll receive it immediately. So that's through credit card donations. And Sherry, correct me if I'm wrong, if they're doing QCD, IRA, stock, we do that letter separately. So it will take a little bit of time, like a few days. Is that correct? You're on mute. Sorry.
You'd think at this point in time we'd be past that, right? So it will depend upon when we receive it. So our system will automatically generate a letter based upon the type of contribution. Typically, our letters go out a week after we process the contribution. If you have folks who you tell us before the deadline that they've requested their distribution from their IRA or another donor advised fund, and we receive official notification that that's forthcoming from their from Fidelity or whomever, we count that, but they won't get their letter until it won't be generated until a week after we receive the actual contribution. Did that answer the question?
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
If you participated last year, can you apply again? Yes, absolutely. Every year is a new year. We encourage you to apply again. Anything else? Anything I've missed? Any questions for Andy?
William B asked a great question, and that was how others have used Match Magic to attract donors, or how donors get attracted in general. This person is new to campaigns. They've typically focused on regular grant writing in the past. So I've got some thoughts on that from what folks did last year, but I'd love for anyone who participated to offer suggestions.
Or you can just email me.
Okay, well, I think everybody will benefit from hearing that. So here's a couple things. One is social media. Be sure that you are, and you will be provided with social media templates as part of those trainings that Lisa Ruth mentioned, where you can post on Facebook, on Instagram, and talk about the Match Magic campaign, and they'll also be provided with a link on how to give. So you want to do that posting. You also want to ask anyone who is your board member, your advocate, your donor, will they share those posts? That gets the information out there. We'll be putting on social media information about the campaign in general, but also highlighting each of the organizations that are participating in the campaign. We're also publishing and distributing 7,000 copies of that gift guide that was mentioned. It's being inserted in the MDJs. That's something they do for us every year as a courtesy. With that, every organization selected will be highlighted. We'll have the pictures that you've submitted. That's why they need to be high quality. So people will be learning about your organization and have an opportunity to give to you through this campaign. Just from what is happening naturally. But we do suggest, and again, you'll be provided with a template for this, we do suggest that you do a mailing to your donors, a specific email distribution to prospective donors. So it does require effort on your part. Did that help? Good.
Oh,
Terry,
we have one more question. If CCF doesn't receive a percentage or a fee, what is the benefit to CCF?
I want Sherry to answer that one.
That's what we do. We're fulfilling our mission. You know, our vision is a community that's thriving and fully engaged. And Match Magic helps us to engage members of the community by educating them about giving. So yeah, this is just what we do and why we exist. And so when we talk about, you heard me talk about you can have donor advised funds at different places. This is why people in Cobb County should have their donor advised funds at Cobb Community Foundations, because this is what we do for the community. And Fidelity and Charles Schwab and all these others, what are they doing for Cobb County? But this is what we do. But thank you for asking that question, because you gave me a chance to get on my soapbox.
Thank you, Michelle, for that question. Anything else we're missing?
I just wanted to add a really inspirational experience that we had in last year's Match Magic, and it goes a little bit to the strategy that Cumberland Counseling had towards raising. So they had Northside Church, and they usually give them a monthly donation throughout the year. But because of the match pool that we were offering and because of Match Magic, they bundled that donation and they gave it during the match time. And so they were able to raise a lot more money through that. And I'm just going to ask Shari, because I'm going to share the link to the blog post so you can read a little bit more about that. But it's a good strategy.
It was a great strategy. Those folks who are year-end givers, go to them specifically and say, hey, don't just send us a check. This campaign is coming up, and if you give through that campaign, we're going to receive more than just whatever the amount of your check is. And there was an additional question. When someone donates to your organization through Match Magic, do they receive solicitations from us throughout the year? They will be added to our newsletter list, and they can unsubscribe to that at any time. If we do send out any form, and actually we don't send out direct solicitations. What we will send out are communications that will educate them about, what is a donor advised fund? What are the benefits? Why would you do a QCD? Incorporating charitable giving into your estate plan. So they will be put on our list to receive those, but they can unsubscribe at any time.
All good. All right.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
And where Gitanjali has added that post. So
yeah.
Yes, take a look at it, because it was, as she said, very inspiring.
Well, I want to thank Andy. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your expertise and your perspective from last year. We appreciate all your advice. Thanks, Richard, G, Sherry, and to all the nonprofits that joined us today. We are excited. So thank you so much. You can always email me with questions. You'll receive a copy of this slideshow. The video will be posted and we will have it on our website. So thank you all so much.